Yes, we did talk about the positive cooperation that we're doing on the bilateral front. So the non-proliferation story is a good one. Not only highly enriched uranium, but getting rid of rocket motors, now outdated rocket motors that obviously have to be taken care of very carefully. We are indeed meeting our milestones, and the milestone through December 31st, 2010 was that Ukraine get rid of a substantial amount of its highly enriched uranium, and that's exactly what happened. And we are, this is all done in a very cooperative manner. They're doing that. We're building a neutron source facility. That's our commitment. The rocket motors have to be gotten rid of. We're helping with the facilities that are required to do that. I would also mention, I'd like to think as a bilateral issue, but also a global issue, the issue of Chernobyl. In April 19th, 20th to be exact, Kyiv will host, the Ukrainian government will host a donors conference and a conference on the safe uses of nuclear energy and mark the 25th anniversary of the Chernobyl disaster. I think we would all agree that we wish that we were already done with this job, but the fact is that we're not, and the fact is that there are sharp financial shortages in terms of what the money that now has to be raised once again to finish the job. I will just say that the United States government takes this as a very high priority. We will be represented at a high level at this event, and that we will do our share to finish the job. And Secretary Clinton is very familiar with this issue because she was involved as First Lady Clinton, she was involved as Senator Clinton, and now she is involved as Secretary Clinton. And there is a real commitment on our side, and we have encouraged the rest of the world to step up as well, because we really do obviously have to get this done. And then let me turn briefly to the issues that have already been touched on in the first panel, but the issues that we are talking about with Ukraine with respect to what is going on in Ukraine now. And it's true, we obviously do have concerns on the democracy front. We've said publicly, and the Secretary raised it, and others raised it while we were here, about the perception of selective prosecution when it comes to the ongoing investigations. Yes, we are obviously in favor of rooting out corruption. That's absolutely necessary for a whole variety of reasons. It's more important to Ukrainians than it is really to anyone else, and it affects almost every aspect of life. So yes, that has to be done, and the point we've made is it has to be done in a manner that is not that does not involve political overtones or the perceptions of political overtones. We can talk more about that. There's the education issue, for example, where we really do have to, we do have concerns too that the educational system remain open, that universities have the autonomy that they need to do the job that they need, because they are really the drivers of progress in many cases. I used to, I saw it firsthand in Slovakia, but it was very interesting because when the Slovak economic, you could call it a miracle, you could call it whatever you want, it's not really important. What was important is that you had a relatively economically weak country after the breakup, within a relatively short period of time, starting in 1998, really become an engine of economic growth in the area. And at the beginning of that process, the university graduates that the Slovak universities turned out were just fine for the companies, both the American companies, European companies that were coming in to invest. But as the businesses, of course, as the economy took off and the businesses got more sophisticated and new businesses came in the high-tech area, it became very evident to the companies that the quality of the graduates wasn't keeping up with the needs of the companies. That's absolutely essential. And so Slovakia is working on this problem. Ukraine also will have to work on this problem. And to do that, any country has to work on it, but to do that, the universities have to have the standards, be able to maintain the standards and have the autonomy they need to be the best that they can be. I should say that the third, one of the other countries I work on, as Andy said, is Moldova. And Moldova, you all remember that after the fall of the wall, the United States had the idea of linking National Guard units in each of our 50 states with, or with many of them, with countries that were coming out from under communism. Well, Ukraine got California. Nice, a very good pick. Moldova got North Carolina. And I went to graduate school in North Carolina, and there you really did see an economic miracle. A dying economy at one time. We went through a truly remarkable transformation to become a real high-tech center in this country. And it was the partnership of the government, to a certain extent, as a facilitator. Not as an overarching role, not as running things, but as a facilitator. Provide the opportunities to universities and corporations to form partnerships. And that's really what's been their great success. And that's also what can happen in Ukraine. The other part of the discussions on the democracy front that took place had to do, in essence, with the great, I hate to use the word symbolism, I mean it's the correct term, but it doesn't say enough, of the progress or the democratic development of Ukraine, how important that is. It's not symbolic in a negative sense, it's symbolic in the truly positive sense. And it's extremely important to Ukraine's future development and its image both here and in Europe. It is really a form of currency, this democratic development. The development of civil society, and you heard about the strength of that from Nadia. That is currency. You can bank it, and you can use it. It can be saved, it has to be protected, and it can be invested. And that's really, you have to take those gains, first to protect them and then advance them. And that's been our position when we have raised concerns about democracy in the past year. They're very concretely linked to not only about that this right has to be protected, that right, of course they do. There's also benefit to protecting those rights, and they're necessary benefits if you're going to even attract investment. We discussed the electoral law code reform process, which we feel absolutely has to be inclusive to get that buy-in that I talked about before from whether it's from civil society, from opposition, from media, etc. And we are indeed looking at how the conduct of the how the electoral law will then feed into the October 2012 elections. And I'm glad that Doris also mentioned that Ukraine will chair the OSCE in 2013. It's an important opportunity, and we're optimistic, and we look forward to working with the Ukrainian government on all of these issues that the OSCE covers. And then the last point, the last area that I want to cover was on investment. When Ukraine wants more investment, wants more U.S. investment, we've heard it from the highest levels of the Ukrainian government. And frankly, we would like that to be the case. There isn't as much in U.S. investment in Ukraine as there can be. But for that to happen, of course, these are not governmental decisions in this country. They're private decisions in this country by companies. And the companies have to have the predictability. They have to have the sense that they are being treated with the transparency and the fairness that they need, and the predictability in order to make the investments that I think they do want to make. And really, that was something that we very much discussed. The issue of the grain quotas, for example, came up, where we have expressed concerns about what we see as the lack of transparency. And we're hoping that that situation will improve. That has relevance to the food security issue that I mentioned, global food, being able to contribute to that. But it also is the larger picture, the lesson or the messages that it sends to the business community. Let me just conclude by saying that this is a very, very broad relationship. The embassy, and we know exactly how broad it is because of how many different committees that we're trying to juggle and all the different meetings that have to take place. And there are a lot of positive aspects about that cooperation, cooperating both bilaterally and with respect to these global issues. There's great potential for this, and we have evolved so that the Strategic Partnership Commission is not a debating society. It is accomplishing concrete milestones, let's say, and we now have, I hope, the expectation that for every one of these commissions, there will be a list of what we sometimes call in the government deliverables. That it's the 3 months or whatever before the commission that's the real work gets done, and then it gets recognized at the time of the commission. There is no area of our relationship that this strategic partnership charter does not touch. So we have an awful lot of work ahead of us. I think that the Ambassador Motzik mentioned the level of representation that came, that the Ukrainian government provided this time, which was both high and very broad, and we very much appreciate that. But it's also then the work that goes on in between the commissions that really will tell how this relationship goes. It is a high priority for us, and that's why we raised it from a sub-ministerial level to the level of the ministers last year, and that was Secretary Clinton's decision, because she places a high priority on this relationship, as I hope that you saw during the Strategic Partnership Commission. So again, thank you very, very much to all of you who give us the inputs for policy during this entire time, and please keep the advice coming. Thank you.